Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry I haven't done a YouTube video in so long. I was like mentally preparing myself to talk about something very personal and very deep. And I'm ready to tell you guys something that I feel like you really need to know. So 2017 was my worst year. That's the year that I was in depression. And the reason why I was in depression is because my face was so messed up. I didn't let my followers know. I played it off. I was posting old pictures, trying to pretend everything was fine. Sometimes it's hard showing people when you're suffering. You guys know people only post the good things to social media. This screenshot is from Snapchat. It was on Thanksgiving. You can see the date right there in the corner. And I'm like, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Like, if everything is fine. I posted this picture as well, like trying to pretend everything was okay. But in reality, this was me. This was me every day, crying. Every time I did my makeup, it would always get ruined because I would end up crying. I did post when my face was all bruised up. The reason why my face was all bruised up was because of what happened to me in Ukraine. I've been around a lot of famous people, influencers. Like, I've been in this industry for a while. I would compare myself to a lot of other models. Their face was flawless. They were perfect. Like, every single model, every single influencer I met, all of them would tell me, oh, I got this done, I got this done, I got this done. I was so shocked because I didn't think they got anything done. I just got so used to hearing about all of them getting things done and seeing how perfect they were that I started to feel like I had to get something done on my face. A lot of girls would be like, oh, if you were to take off the little bump you have on your nose, you would look perfect. My nose was beautiful the way it was. But sadly, at that moment, I was like, yeah, you're right. If I do my nose, like, I'll look way better. I was getting so much messages from girls telling me, oh, you should get your nose done with this doctor. He's from Iran, but he's doing surgeries in Ukraine and he'll do it for free. Like, all you have to do is post on social media that you want to see him and that he's a great doctor and he's going to be at a beauty clinic. And they would show me pictures of like their nose and it did look perfect. Later on, I found out that it was a lie. Like, he hadn't done their nose. And I was like so convinced that if this doctor did my nose, I was gonna look way better. At the end of the day, this was my mistake and I can't blame anyone for my mistake. I go to Ukraine and I had a friend go with me. She wasn't gonna do anything, like, she was just gonna be there for me. So I meet the doctor. He hardly speaks English. You could hardly understand what he said. He had an assistant and his assistant was from Iran also, but his English was a little bit better. He would translate for the doctor. That same day that he's talking to me and that I'm meeting him, a girl comes running out, like screaming, saying that her face looked horrible. He saw that I looked scared and he was like, oh, don't worry about her, she's crazy, she doesn't know what she's saying. And after I started to get that negative feeling, the doctor was like, you have to do a post right now, giving me promotion. And after I did the shout out, everything was like fine. He brought me food, he brought us water. So the whole point of going out there was to get my nose done, shout him out for it, like post about it. But the reason everything didn't go the way it was planned was because of him. After I finished eating and everything, they're like, okay, we're gonna do the surgery now. And I was like, what? Like, don't you have to take like blood samples? Don't you have to do like all these things? Because I had never gotten a surgery before, but I knew you had to like get tested. Like, I've heard of so much people dying because they don't do the proper like exams on them, on their blood. So I was like, don't you have to take like blood samples? He's like, oh yeah. And like, I should have just like left, but I felt like I had to do it since I was already there. So he comes and takes blood, but I had just ate. I was like, wait, like, I just ate. Like, what if my sugar comes out really high or like, you know? And he's like, no, it's fine. Another red flag. And I ignored it too. So he takes out blood or whatever, and like a lot of blood. Like, I felt so weak. Not even like 30 minutes passed by. He's like, okay, he's like, get ready, we're gonna do the surgery now. I just kept getting like a really bad feeling and it just kept growing bigger and bigger, and like I kept ignoring it. They're recording everything. Like, they're recording when I'm on the surgery bed, and I didn't know that it wasn't normal for them to be poking my face everywhere because, like I said, I had never got a surgery. I didn't know what it was like to get your nose done. But I did think it was weird that they were poking my face everywhere. And I did ask them, like, why are you guys injecting like my whole face? He's like, oh, it's so that you get numb so that you don't feel pain. And I was like, why am I gonna feel pain over here, like in my cheeks and everywhere else? He's like, I know what I'm doing, stop questioning me. When I wake up from that surgery, I look next to me, and the first thing I see is a girl laying down in a bed, but her sheets are full of blood. But I couldn't tell if she was sleeping or if she was dead because like there's blood all over her sheets. I could feel a cast right here. I knew that wasn't normal because when you get a nose job, you're not supposed to have anything on your neck. Not only that, like I could feel something growing on the side of my cheek. It was like the weirdest feeling ever because my whole face was in pain and in a way like kind of numb, but I can feel something growing on my cheek. Like I don't even know how to explain this. It was growing so big that there was a point where like I could see the ball. So I started screaming, and when I started screaming, my voice hardly comes out. Like I couldn't really talk. Like I didn't know what I had in my throat. Like I didn't know what was going on. And a nurse comes running in speaking Ukrainian. Obviously I can't understand anything. She couldn't even communicate with the doctor because he's from Iran, they're from Ukraine. It was just a mess. So the doctor gets there literally looking like he just left the club. Like he straight up looked like he was drunk. He's wearing no gloves and he just pops the ball with his bare hands. I'm like, why did I have that? What's going on? He's like, don't talk, just go to sleep. And then he's like, you don't know what you're saying. And the lady comes and puts me to sleep. I wake up again. I'm no longer in that room next to that girl. I'm in another room by myself. I try to get up and I fall back from how weak I am and how dizzy I am. I look down at my leg and I had 2 holes. So I took this picture when they finally gave me my phone back. You could see it was already January 20th and the location says keep because this is from my Snapchat. Right here, I was already back home. As you guys know, I left Ukraine January 22nd. So right here was already starting to heal, but it was a little bit infected. Right here, it already had scabs since a few months had passed by. And this is basically what it looks like now. That doctor basically did whatever he wanted to me. He did whatever he wanted to my face. He did whatever he wanted to my leg. Thank goodness he did not touch the rest of my body. Like the first thing I did when I came back to the US was check if I got raped, and I did not. Every single time I woke up, they would put me back to sleep. Every time. And my friend didn't even know this was going on because she wasn't with me. They didn't let her stay with me. They took my friend to the hotel and they had me in a room in the clinic. And I had no way of talking to my mom and telling her what was going on because I couldn't touch my phone because every time I woke up, they would put me back to sleep. And I didn't understand why. And then if I was awake for a little bit, they would come and bring me food. And if I didn't want to eat it, they would just put me back to sleep again. So in my head, I'm like, are they putting me to sleep because they're like raping me every time they put me to sleep? But I wasn't in pain down there, so I was like, no. When they finally stopped putting me to sleep and they let me talk, I was like, why do I have this on my leg? They were acting like so confused. Like I still remember the face on that dumb doctor. Like if he didn't know how I got those 2 holes when he did them himself. I was like, why is my face so swollen? Guys, I'm not kidding. My face was like this. My eyes were like almost shut from like how swollen everything was. You know how we have little veins in our eyes? I guess one of them popped and like you could see the blood in my eye. So both of my eyes were red. I had bruises everywhere. I couldn't even eat even if I tried because the inside of my mouth was so swollen. I don't know why. Like up to this day, I don't know why my mouth was swollen. My lip was this big, like it was touching my nose. He like left me with no nostril. They finally let me go back to the room with my friend. I talked to my mom and she was happy that I was okay. I think my friend even said something that like they tried to do something to her teeth, but she didn't let them. Every time I asked the doctor, like, did you do something else to my face? And he would be like, no, I promise. And I would be like, then why are my cheeks like this? Why is my mouth like this? Like, why is my whole face like this? He's like, it's normal, it's normal. And since I had never seen anyone else like recovering from their nose, I did think it was normal and I did believe him because he was so convincing. Later, I come back to the US and I'm waiting for my face to get better. My face is not getting better. It keeps getting worse and worse, but my whole cheek was infected and I didn't know this. I kept getting a hematoma like over and over. This is how my skin would look every time I popped a hematoma and drained the blood out. He did the surgery January 12th. And I came back home January 22nd. And on February 14th, another hematoma just randomly grew on my face. And it was embarrassing because a friend had come to visit me and I was talking to him. And while I was talking to him, it just started growing on my face. And I went and I popped it. And like Like when you pop a hematoma, like the blood just drains out, so it like drains out through my mouth. I was in my room depressed for 6 months. Like I did not want to leave my room. Sometimes my parents would come in my room and they would find me on the floor crying, saying that I wanted to die. And I know this sounds horrible, but can you guys imagine how traumatizing it is to be known for your looks and to be beautiful and to be admired and to make a dumb mistake that you think was going to be something small, that they were just going to remove a bump off your nose out of nowhere. Your whole face is changed, it's swollen, and you're scared of, like, how people are going to react. Like, I didn't want my friends to see me. I didn't want no one to see me because I didn't want them to be like, oh my god, like, what did she do to her face? Like, I did not want to see that reaction. Like, I did not want to hurt myself and go through even more pain than what I was already going through. And seeing people get disappointed because of how ugly I looked, and it was just too hard for me. What made me come out of depression was my little brother, was my family. Because one day, as I'm crying in my room and saying that I want to die, my little brother comes in and he hugs me, and he's like, Jailyne, he's like, don't die. He's like, if you die, he's like, I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna miss you a lot. He's like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too, Johnny. Like, I'm not gonna die. And I realized, like, if I would have killed myself, I would have caused more damage to my family than to myself. Like, I was hurting my family more than I was hurting myself. Committing suicide would have been the most selfish thing to do because I would have brought such a huge pain upon my family, and they don't need that. They don't deserve that. My family is everything to me. And thanks to them, I got out of depression. Like, I didn't take medicine. All I did was read books. The Secret was one of them. The swelling didn't start to go down till after the 6 months. Like, it's crazy how swollen I was. Hematoma still kept coming out on my cheek though. I still didn't know I had an infection on my cheek. I thought the pain was normal. The red inside my eye started to go away. Right here you can see the date. You can see the red was almost gone, the bruising was gone, my cheek wasn't that swollen anymore, but my lip was still huge. This is how scary I looked, and this is a reason why I was hiding my face from everyone. I still had no nostril. I couldn't breathe. I still didn't want to be seen though. I didn't want to post pictures because I knew people were going to notice. Time passed by. I thought I was growing another hematoma on my face, but it was not a hematoma. It was an abscess. There was so much infection that my face couldn't take it. So I started growing a really big ball on my face. I thought it was a hematoma. So I go to the restroom and I try to squeeze it. And when I try to squeeze it, I yell out in pain. That was the most painful thing I've ever physically felt in my life. I was like, oh my god, that's not a hematoma. Like, what is that? And I tell my mom. She takes me to the emergency room. I explained to the doctors what happened. I'm like, I went to Ukraine. They did my nose over there. They did whatever they wanted to my face. I don't know what they did. Like, the doctor blocked me. Like, the doctor blocked me because I messaged him telling him, hey, I look hideous. And I sent him a picture of like how ugly I looked. He uploaded that picture of how ugly I looked. On top of that, he's like, are you gonna give me a shout out? He's like, if you don't give me a shout out, I'm gonna upload all the pictures and videos I did of you when we were doing surgery. And I was like, do whatever the fuck you want. I was like, I don't care. Like, do whatever you want. Like, at the end of the day, like, you ruined my face and I'm not gonna give you promo. Like, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite and upload a picture saying, wow, I love my nose. Like, when I hated my nose and I hated my life and he ruined my life, like, why am I gonna give promotion to a monster? So I'm telling the doctor at this emergency room, like, the doctor has me blocked. There's no way to talk to him. I don't know what he did to my face. Like, I have no paperwork. Like, they weren't professional at all. So I have nothing, like, nothing to know what he did besides videos he uploaded where I can see him doing stuff to my cheeks, like, on the inside. So thanks to that doctor from Ukraine, I can't smile. He cut the inside of my nerves. We have a branch of nerves on each side of our face, like here and here, and that controls our movement in our face. That he cut the nerves that control my upper lip. That's the reason why I can't smile. I went to get a scan on my face to see if he had put any filler or anything in my upper lip because it was huge. I would ask the neurologist who would give me therapy to smile again. I would always ask him like, hey, like if I have nerve damage, like does that make my lips swollen? And he would be like, no, Jailyne, like when you have nerve damage, like you just can't smile and it's stiff, but it's not supposed to be swollen. So I was like, so do you think I have filler? And he's like, well, you should get that checked. And I went to several doctors. They would squeeze my lip and they'd be like, no, you don't have filler in here, like it's just swollen. But it had been months, like over 6 months. Barely last year we found out I did have something. And it's so weird because even when they did the scan, nothing came out. But thanks to my dermatologist, Dr. Hazani, we found out I did have filler. They cut it and they squeezed it out, and thank God my lip is normal again. I hated like how huge it was. Like it made the nerve damage even worse. Dr. Cancer Killer is Dr. Hazani, and not only did he find the filler, but he also did PRP. This is Dr. Rafi. He worked in the same office as Dr. Hazani, and Dr. Hazani had Dr. Rafi take out the fluid that was in my upper lip because he's a pro when it comes to lips. So thanks to Dr. Hazani, who realized that I did have filler in my lip, and thanks to Dr. Rafi, who took it out. I also took stem cells, which is something that Dr. Hazani also recommended. The therapies where like they would give me little shocks and it would stimulate my nerves. This is one of the daily therapies they would give me. Right here, I'm breathing in hyperbaric oxygen, which was another therapy I would take, and here I'm inside the tube. Let's go back to when I was in the emergency room. The doctor from the emergency room just gets like scared. He's like, whoa, like I don't want to like touch her face, like I'm scared. He's like, honestly, he's like, since we don't know what they did to you, we can't help you because we're scared, like to make things worse. I was like, are you serious? Like if I have a ball in my cheek and I'm in pain and this ball is growing, like you should do something to help me. And he's like, but we'll see if like another doctor here can help you. They had me waiting in a room so long, guys, like, and by the time someone came in, and they told me that they couldn't help me because they didn't know like how to help me, because they didn't know what they did to me in another country. And since that I had done the mistake of going to another country, that they were scared and that they didn't want anything to do with it, so they didn't help me. So my whole day was wasted in that emergency room and they did nothing to me. I go home, the ball is bigger, the pain is worse. I wake up, my whole face was burning, like it was just burning in pain. Like it was like a type of pain that I can't even explain. And the ball had gotten so big that it pushed my whole face to one side. My nose was twisted this way. I looked like a frog because it was like hanging here. My eye was completely shut. Like this whole side of my face was just deformed. The ambulance comes for me. They take me to the hospital. They put me on the hospital bed. I'm screaming in pain. I remember them asking me, Jailyne, like, do we cut your face on the outside or the inside? And I was like, what kind of question is that? Like, cut it on the inside. And then they're like, if we cut it on the inside, we're gonna damage your nerves even more. They're like, there's a probability of you never being able to smile again. But then again, if they would have cut it on the outside, I would have looked like Scarface. Like, just cut it on the inside. I already had a lot of like scar tissue inside. They're like, the amount of scar tissue you're gonna have in your cheek is gonna be like the size of like a golf ball. But they put me to sleep. They cut open the abscess. They drain out all the infection that was in there, thanks to that dumb doctor. I didn't get any more hematomas on my face. No more abscess grew on my cheek. The whole problem was like that infection. I started looking up doctors to see who can help me, and I ran across Dr. Gabami's page. I replied to him, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know you had messaged me so long ago. I saw like you do like really nice noses, and I have this really big problem because 1, I can't breathe, 2, I'm missing a nostril, and 3, I look hideous. He was just blown away by the whole story because I told him everything that happened to me. And I drove to LA. My family went with me. Family didn't want me to go alone because they were scared. I was like, this doctor's most likely gonna do surgery on me and fix my nose. And I took so much pictures of how my nose looked before so that he can like make my nose like the nose I was born with. And I know that was something impossible because I know no doctor can make your nose exactly like the natural nose you were born with, but I wanted him to get close to that. This is the natural nose I was born with, so I took these pictures with me. When he opened up my nose, it had been like brutally sewn together. So that doctor from the Ukraine, like, basically just like broke my nose in pieces, and like I don't even know what he did. So basically he took cartilage from my ear and used that to shape my nostril. It sounds crazy. I didn't even know you could do that, but thank God he did. If he wouldn't have done that, I would still be without a nostril right now. So now I have both of my nostrils, and it's still really small. Now at least like it's like out like how I wanted it. It looks like more normal. Obviously I'm still a little bit insecure because it was still like such a huge change. So this is when my face was untouched. I was 16. My nose is perfect the way it was. Like, look at this picture. I look like I could be in a novela, and this was the exact same day at the same photo shoot. This is one of the photos I sent to Dr. Gobami. I explained that I couldn't show my upper teeth like that anymore since my upper lip wouldn't move. And I wrote before, same with this one. This is the left side of my face. The left side of my face has always been my favorite side of my face, even up to this day. This is the right side of my face and the side I always hated, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get my nose done in the first place. And right here you could kind of see the bump on my nose that I talked about. I think what traumatized me the most was losing my smile. I have a crazy laugh. I'm very bubbly, so I'm always laughing and smiling. And not being able to smile to the full potential like before is just hard. And it was even harder in 2017 because I couldn't smile at all. I was very little in these pictures, but seeing these pictures puts me in my feelings because I miss looking beautiful like this and I miss smiling. This picture was taken a few months before going to Ukraine and ruining my face. Even the experience I had coming back into the US was just so bad. Even at the airport in Ukraine, I get there with my eyes red, the little doctor mask on me, so little kids would look at me and they would get scared. Then I had a connection in New York. People in New York were so rude to me. Even the guy from customs, like, I'm in line with a lot of foreigners, and there's some from China, there's some from Russia, there's foreigners from all over the world, and I guess most of them can't speak English. So the guy from customs that had to read our passport assumed I didn't speak English. I'm in this line and there's people in this line, and I have to go to this guy next, and he looks at me and he looks at his partner and he's like, you should get that one. He's like, I don't know what the hell she has. I'm like, I speak English. I'm like, that was really rude. I'm like, and I'm hurt, like I'm going through something. I'm like, I don't have any disease or anything. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. He's like, come here, I'll look at your passport. So I go and he looks at my passport, and you know what's funny? He follows me on Instagram. He's like, Jailyne Ojeda. He's like, I know you. He's like, wow. He's like, I'm sorry. He was like, I had no idea it was you. He's like, what happened to you? And like the first thing that came to my head was like, I was in an accident. Because how am I going to explain a whole story to him, you know? So I was like, I was in an accident. And he was like, I'm sorry to hear that, and whatever, I leave. So that was my experience in the Ukraine, coming back from the Ukraine, getting therapy for my nerve damage. We're in 2020 now. I've advanced a lot, but it was definitely super hard for me. Something else happened in Ukraine that I forgot to mention. When I was back in the room with my friends, some crazy guy tried breaking in our room. One day I wanted to walk because I was so tired of just like being in bed all day. So I told him I'm gonna go for a walk. When I went for a walk, I saw that a guy kept looking at me. And I'm like, there's no way a guy's checking me out when I had like loose clothing so you couldn't see my body. And I looked hideous. So I just kept minding my own business walking. And I went back. I was in the lobby. I go back in the elevator to go to my room, and he goes in the elevator as well. And I get off and he gets off. I'm like, maybe he's staying in the same like floor as me, you know? So I start walking to my room and he's walking behind me, but I'm like, okay, maybe his room is by my room. Like I turn back to see where he's at and I can't see him anymore. So I'm like, oh, like he probably went in his room. And I get to the door and I put my key, but it wasn't opening. And I was like, why is it not opening? And my friend had like locked it. You know how if it's locked with that little thing, the door won't open even if you slide your card? I was like, why would she lock me out? Like, and I was just getting so desperate to get inside because I can hear him walking behind me. And by the time she finally opened the door, he gets her and pushes me inside and pushes her out of the way, and he's in our room. I would have gotten in the room so easily if like it wouldn't have been locked, but she put that extra lock. And he starts getting really aggressive. So I'm like, dude, like, just calm down. Like, let's just calm down, because like the more aggressive or loud you get, the more things get out of control. So I was like, dude, like, let's just chill out and let's just let him be. Like, let's see what he wants, because I just wanted him to like leave me alone. Like, I had no energy to fight. I can't breathe. I haven't ate in weeks at all. I couldn't eat even if I tried. So I went and I just laid on my bed and I was like praying, and I was like, whatever has to happen is gonna happen, because I had no energy whatsoever. And I've always felt like God really protects me and looks out for me. And the guy goes and lays on the floor next to me. So pretend I'm in my bed right here, and he lays on the ground next to me. And I look at him and he's like, "Are you sick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sick." And he was from Russia. He's like, "I'm sad because my wife left me and she took the kids and I'm drunk." I'm like, "That's why you followed me?" He's like, "Yes." Meanwhile, my friend locked herself in the restroom, but I told her to like try to call, because when we were getting out of control, she tried to call the lobby and he disconnected the phone. But there was one more phone in the restroom. So I'm like, dude, like, I told her in Spanish, I'm like, go to the restroom and try to call and just lock yourself in there, and I'll like talk to him to entertain him. I started to feel bad for this guy because he was lonely, and the crazy part is he was good looking. Like, he didn't look like a psycho. I was like, "Were you gonna hurt us?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Then why did you push us inside the room, and why did you disconnect the phone?" He's like, "I just need to talk." He's like, "What do you look like without a mask?" I was like, "No, like, I'm not gonna take off the mask. Like, I'm gonna scare you." And he took it off and he looked at me. He's like, "Why did they do that to you?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." I was sitting on my phone because I was scared that he was gonna take my phone away. He's like, "Where's your phone?" I'm like, "I don't have a phone." And then the guys from the lobby came, and then they opened up the door and they took him out of the room. And before they took him out of the room, he was like, "I'm gonna bring you back a gift tomorrow. Like, please open the door." And I was like, "Yeah, when you bring me a gift tomorrow, I'll open the door." He was like, "Okay." The whole night he would cry and bang our door. And the next day was when I was gonna fly back home. Me and her were gonna fly separately. She actually left first than me. But before I left, a cleaning lady came and she's like, "Your friend left this for you. He flew back to Russia, but he said to give this to you." It was a teddy bear. And I was just so sensitive and so emotional that I started crying. I flew back to the US with that little teddy bear. And it made me feel better because, like I said, everyone was staring at me like if I was a monster. So I would just like hug my teddy bear. I felt like a little kid. Love is the best medicine you can get. When I was in Ukraine, that doctor would inject all kinds of medicine into my swollen face, and like it would just get worse. And when I got home, my mom's hugs and kisses and like their love just helped me get better. Well, here I am today. On TikTok, you guys know how there's like a lot of trolls on there. There's a lot of haters. There's a lot of people with fake profiles who just like attack people all day because they have nothing better to do. So those people are always like, "She's plastic. Her doctor exposed her. Dr. Gavami exposed her." First of all, Dr. Gavami never exposed me. He didn't expose me. He literally reposted a shout out that I gave him for doing my nose. Like, where the hell did he say that he did my body? Nowhere, because he didn't. So since people kept coming at me and making up that Dr. Gavami supposedly exposed me when he never did, I had to message him on WhatsApp. He said he was down to do a video with me to let everyone know that he never did my body so people could stop making things up, but I just haven't had time to see him. Right here, he made me laugh because he said that everyone's a pendejo for saying that Dr. Miami did it too when neither of them did anything. So people kept coming at me, attacking me on TikTok, so I kept sending him screenshots, and he's like, "People love lying, pinches mentiras." And it's so cute when he speaks Spanish. You guys can go ahead and read the conversation, but when he says your original Persian doctor, he's talking about the guy from Ukraine. This is the rest of the conversation where I'm still complaining and we're planning on seeing each other, but we still haven't been able to see each other. This is a man that did whatever he wanted to my face, the 2 holes on my leg, and that cut my nerves. So since I was very grateful to Dr. Gavami for fixing my nose and I have nothing to hide, I gave him a shout out. I posted this photo on my Instagram, and under this photo, I posted a caption that you can go read for yourself because it's still on my Instagram. Right after that, Dr. Gavami posted this on his page, and all he's talking about is a shout out that I gave him on my page. Like, people bug. Everyone who's went to school with me supports me and defends me because they know what I look like since I was like young. Obviously, the girls that jumped me because they were jealous of me aren't gonna defend me. Like, those girls are obviously gonna keep talking bad about me because that's the only thing they know how to do. Just know that if a friend is talking bad about me, that is not a friend, that's a hater. None of my friends would ever talk bad about me because they know me, they know how I am, they know me since I was little. My circle is so small, it's like not even a circle. Stop believing everything you hear, everything you read. Even Google is wrong. Like, Google says I'm 23, I'm 22. Google says I have like 5 different net worths, none of them are right. Google doesn't know how much money I have. They don't even know how old I am. Most of the pictures are photoshopped, so stop believing everything you see. So this picture is on the internet. It's most commonly used by haters and by plastic surgeons that are desperate for attention and desperate for clients. Also, the before picture looks like they edited it for my hips, probably to make it smaller. But I've always had hips. I just didn't really have a waist there. Why? Because I was 14. And then the one with the pink outfit that says after, that one's even more photoshopped. My ass has never been that big and my waist has never been that small. These pictures are just embarrassing. The one in the red, I've never looked like that. The one in the pink, I've never looked like that either. They photoshopped it way too big with the pink dress and way too small with the red dress. Here's the original photo so you guys can compare. And if you still don't believe me, go on my Instagram and you'll see I posted this picture back in 2015. Do the math. Get to know me and how I really am, and you guys will see that I'm a good person, I'm genuine, and I'm always real with you guys. I have nothing to hide. And now that I told you guys the story of Ukraine and everything, I feel so much better. So, you know how I told you guys that every single time I woke up, they put me to sleep? So every time I woke up and they put me to sleep, he had my phone. He would upload stuff in his language, and obviously I don't speak Arabic, so I didn't write that myself. All these posts that were going up on my page was like him promoting himself. When all this was over, when he gave me back my phone, when they stopped putting me to sleep, when they let me go back to the room with my friend, I had so much messages from people who were like, Jailyne, are you hacked? Are you okay? There's so much doctors that are not professional, that are scammers, and that I use my pictures to convince women in general to go to them and get their body done. And I'm actually gonna sue Dr. Dolbeck because they have pictures of me from when I was 16 on their website, and I didn't even know until a follower sent me it. I think they deleted one off of their website. Like I told you guys, there's so much plastic surgeons that lie about doing work on girls just to give themselves promo, and I always contact them and they always block me. But this time I wrote to Dr. Dolbeck because it's the most recent one I've been hearing of, and this is what she said. So obviously this dumb lady didn't read my message and she just sent me something that she copies and pastes to everyone. So I replied, no, I don't want to speak to you, just take my pictures down, and I put exclamation marks so she knows I'm mad. She then felt stupid and unsent her message. I then wrote her another paragraph so she could see I'm being serious. She then replied saying, good afternoon, our team Wheel, she doesn't even know how to spell, contact you to solve the problem. Please send us a picture to know. Like, you started this problem and you should know what pictures. You're the one who put them on your website. So, of course, I was petty and I'm like, you should know which picture. I'm sure you can recognize pictures from real patients and patients you've never even had that you're lying about on your site. So since she was acting like she didn't know what I was talking about, I sent her the screen recording that the fan sent me, and I sent her screenshots, and I'm like, you put Dolbeck doll and that's defamation and that's obviously a lie. And like, why put someone on your page when you never did nothing to them? That's so unprofessional from a plastic surgeon. People try to say that so much people are my doctors, and it's lies, but you can try it out. You can go to each one, and I don't think you're going to end up with my body, because my body is genetics. My body isn't from a bunch of BBLs. I went to B&G Cosmetics to get literally a scrub on my elbows because they wanted me to do promo for them. They would never try to lie and say that they did anything else to me because they're actually professional. But yeah, they just scrubbed my elbows and I did a promo for them. So I uploaded this on my Instagram from when I went to visit them. Right here you can see the caption. I also did a story. Here's a screenshot of our conversation from that day. This is what they uploaded. And I wrote them this when a lot of people were writing to me asking me if I went to them for a BBL. I was like, what? Right here, you can see they confirmed they never did anything besides the elbow scrub, and I also complained about Dr. Go back to her. I want to tell you guys that I'm really sorry about just telling you guys that I got in a car accident instead of just telling you guys what really happened. But you have to understand me. Like, you have to put yourself in my shoes and be like, okay, I have 11 million followers, and how am I going to explain to these people that I lived like a surgery horror story in another country? Like, they might not believe me, and 2, they're for sure gonna judge me, and 3, I was depressed. Like, I felt like a monster. I didn't want anyone to look at me. So how was I gonna show my face and tell you guys what happened? Like, how was I just gonna be like, guys, this and that happened, looking so ugly like that? Like, I didn't even have the confidence to look at myself in the mirror without crying. So how would you guys expect me to go in front of a camera and tell you guys what happened? And if I would have just wrote it down without showing myself, it wouldn't have been the same, you know? So please don't judge me for not telling you guys this before. I would always tell myself, like, you know what, it's none of their business. Like, no one needs to know what I'm going through. No one's going to know. So I'm just going to keep it to myself, and I'm going to suffer alone. I have so much resentment against this man, and I just want to let it go. I just want to leave all the suffering, all the pain, all the negativity in the past, because you guys know I'm such a positive person. And honestly, that's what's helped me get ahead in life, because I have so many reasons to just let myself fall into a hole. Like, when I got jumped, when I got bullied, when people made up so much lies about me, every single time I got hurt, and this whole experience I had in Ukraine could have been enough for any weak person to just fall in a hole and never come out. But I came out, and I'm here, and it's because I'm positive. And I want to continue being positive, but I want you guys to help me and to please stop bringing up how beautiful I was back then. Because even though I got over it, and even though I'm strong and I'm positive, it still hurts me, guys. Like, it does. I couldn't look at a picture of me before without bursting into tears. There wasn't one night where I didn't have a nightmare about what happened over there. It's really hard for me to finally overcome something that was haunting me and hurting me so much, and for you guys to constantly remind me about it and throw it in my face. And it's like, you guys are traumatizing me all over again. Like, I have to accept myself the way I am now. I can't go back in time. I can't force people to like me. In the beginning of the nerve damage and the facial paralysis, every time I laughed, I would like cover my mouth, and it's still a habit. Like, it turned into a habit. So now every time I laugh, like, I cover my mouth. But honestly, I haven't got better 100%. Like, I did get better, but not 100%. Like, I still can't laugh to my full potential. I mean, I can laugh. I can't smile to my full potential, but I can obviously laugh. Like, my voice comes out. It's just that it's uncomfortable because it's very like stiff, because like I said, the nerve that controls the upper lip isn't like working properly like it should. So the top pictures is how I looked before, and the bottom pictures is how scary he left me, and he put it on his page like if he did a wonderful job. The top pictures, I look like a scary duck. The bottom pictures was my natural face. And like I said, girls, please, please don't go to him. He's not a good doctor, and he's not a nice person. When I was depressed, I would take pictures of myself and write myself positive messages. I was able to get all these pictures from Snapchat. That's why they all show the date. A lot of my friends are going to be shocked that I'm sharing these photos and that I'm talking about this, because I said I was never going to talk about this because I didn't want to revisit the past and relive these memories that hurt me so much, but here they are. These are some of the snaps I would send my friends, because obviously they knew what was going on. Also, I forgot to mention Dr. Gavami had to remove all the filler that the doctor from Ukraine injected into my jaw. That's why my face looks squared instead of looking like the shape it's always been. My face has always had the same shape, and I've always had a really strong jawline, and my chin has always like popped out, I guess. I used to hate it when I was small, but now I like it because girls pay to have their chin like that. You can really see how my chin is here, how my nose was. My waist was all tiny, and I was skinny, but I still had like hips.